Hello and welcome to this brief overview of the Aquarius time series system. My name is Tom and I'll be your guide for this session. Let's take a look at the Aquarius time series main screen. On the left, you see the lists of locations in the system. There are many ways of searching for locations, many ways of displaying locations and adding information to locations. You can attach files, you can attach images and video, you can create reference datums, make reference points, so the system automatically calculates or recalculates the stage or height related information that you have. You can add user roles to location or set of locations, so you can have good control over who gets to use or manage the data. And of course, you get to provide location details, including basic GIS information, lat long, additional data, tags, and more. But let's move to the main activity of the system, which is to manage time series. Aquarius time series really has two main types of data. Data that you enter into the system, known as a basic time series. This can be entered manually or more often automatically through a system known as Aquarius Connect, and calculations, which we'll look at shortly. Let's take a look at what we can do with data that has been entered into the system. There are powerful editing and data viewing capabilities in the system. We can see here the main stage. Here's a time series sector with some problems, clearly. We can see the timeline on the bottom. We can easily scroll along the timeline, expand and contract the data as we need to, zoom in on data right down to the point level, or see the data itself as a list very easily. But let's go back to the section of data that we have some problems with. So we see we need to make some corrections here. Extremely easy. Use data select tool and a list of possible corrections shows up. You pick the one you want. In this case, we're going to do an override and do a moving average filter, let the system generate a suggestion for us. Here it is. We can then quickly adjust and tweak that line and adjust it to the way that suits us. If we prefer a different way, there we go. We can just go and apply that selection. And there's our new data. The raw data is always kept so that you can always retrieve it if you need to. We can do additional things like grade the data. Again, the data grade menu shows up. We now have a fair estimate, good estimate. We can apply that. We can add comments. We can create what are called qualifiers, which are user settable shorthand, basically. Here we might say equipment malfunction. Again, we apply that and we have our new data, and we can see the grade level here. We can see the qualifiers here. We can expand out and we can see that this relates to this set of data here only. We have a full edit history of the corrections that we've done, both online. So here we are, what we've done, who did it, when it was done, to what data, and this is available as a report as well, of course. And then we can move on to the other data. So that's an example of the sort of things that you can do with time series for quality control, quality assurance. Again, we're moving very quickly here. It's just a brief session, but we can also do many calculations. So here are different time series where we can do calculations. Calculations can take various forms. We can do statistics, for example, where we might want to sum data up. We can take a look at an example here with precipitation. We have a basic time series of precipitation, and we can decide that we want to do, for example, a sum of 12 hours of the basic precipitation. Very easy to do. We simply pick our method that we want to do the computation in. We pick what kind of computation we want to do, in this case a sum, what it is we want to do it on, which time series we want to do it on, precipitation for this site, and what are the details, 12 hours, where do we want the period at the end, and we're done. Then we just tell up what the new time series should look like, 12-hour precipitation, what our parameter and units are, other relevant information, and that's it. We're good to go, and we have our new time series. And we can look at multiple of these very easily together. And here we are. Here we see our newly created time series showing sums of precipitation. We have multiple time series we can view at once. We can turn them on or off as we need to, depending on what we want to look at. And of course, we can look at the time series data, and we can export this data as well, make it available to the outside world via APIs, many more things. So that's one example of a calculated time series. We can do more kind of complicated algebraic calculations as well, where we can combine multiple time series to one or more time series into new ways using formulas. Here's an example of a Weir calculation. There's an entire little scripting language here where you can define constants. It has access to the Windows math library. You can do power relationships, trigonometry, if-else conditions, other sort of things. You can tell the system how many different time series you want to combine formulaically/algebraically and create a new output. So there's quite powerful calculation abilities in the system as well. So that is a very brief overview of the sort of things you can do with time series. I encourage you to explore this more. Time series is a really powerful system for managing and transforming your environmental data of different kinds. And we look forward to any questions you may have on this.